Pathmonk is the AI for website conversions. With increasing online competition, over 98% of website visitors don't convert. The ability to successfully show your value proposition and support visitors in the buying journey separates you from the competition online. Pathmonk qualifies and converts leads on your website by figuring out where they are in the buying journey and influencing them in key decision moments with relevant micro experiences like case studies, intro videos, and much more. Stay relevant to your visitors and increase conversions by 50% by adding Pathmonk to your website in seconds, letting the artificial intelligence do all the work, and increase conversions by 50% while you keep doing marketing as usual. Check us out on pathmonk.com. Hey everybody, welcome back to today's episode of Pathmonk Presents. Today we are joined by Daniela Katramada. She's the head of marketing of Ogram. Daniela, welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you very much for having me here. I'm very happy to be here and to talk about marketing, landing pages, whatever has to do with that.
Amazing. Well, likewise, we're excited to have you on. And we just like to get right into it, Daniela. So if you can tell us a little bit about Ogram, what's your company all about?
Mm-hmm. So basically, Ogram is a platform that connects businesses with job seekers, primarily in the gig economy. So our goal basically is to make hiring a bit more flexible, efficient, and scalable for other companies. So whether a company needs temp staff, event, part-time workers for peak seasons, or even long-term freelance professionals, Ogram is there to support. And we do have this kind of database of people to create a seamless solution when it comes to hiring and recruiting.
Very
And
cool.
basically sorry, not sure if you had any question here. No.
Now, I was gonna ask about the type of businesses you work with, but please go ahead.
Yeah. I wanted to mention also that the company started in 2017. It started in the UAE because there was noticed a big demand in on staffing platforms. And after 2 years, after a few years, we've also expanded in Saudi Arabia and Greece, which are two evolving markets, especially Saudi Arabia, that we can see that it's kind of peaking, and it's really interesting to see this kind of trends. So in a nutshell, basically Ogram is not a job board. It's a streamlined entire process from recruitment to payments and making it hassle free for employers and for workers to find work.
Okay, so I guess in a way you answered to my question because you're catering to both the businesses, right?
Yeah.
And the applicant,
Yeah,
right? And
in a way
so,
of a
yeah,
B2B, B2C solution.
I was gonna say, right? That's because that's a
Mhm.
typical, you make the distinction. So it's B2B, B2C, and sometimes you'll find, the B2B plus C, right? And whatever, acronym you want to find next. But that's interesting. So in terms of your customers, right? Your businesses, the business you work with, what would you say is the core problem you solve for them? And what can they expect when they land on Ogram? What can they expect when they come to you with the problems they have?
Okay, so we are working in industries such as hospitality, events, logistics, warehousing, retail, and these are industries where they require big amount of workers, for example. And for them, for a company, it's quite hard for the HR to have like all of the resources to interview all these people, for example, or to screen all these people. And it's not very, it's a time consuming process. So that's where we come in, and that's what Ogram is trying to solve basically. Because we work with also big companies such as Hilton, DHL, Marriott, Noon, and some of big hotels like Jumeirah Beach Hotel in Dubai. What they've told us is that basically, as soon as they signed up in our platform, which is, by the way, it's super easy and it's super fast, they get access to a network of over 500,000 pre-qualified workers that they have been qualified and interviewed by us. So basically, if I was a company, I would go directly to the app, check what are the workers that are available, and hire them instantly through the app. So, and there's no like contract involved, and there's no high long-term commitment, and that's what we're trying to solve also.
Okay. So, well, that's an interesting part, actually. So, if there's no contract involved, does that mean you handle that side of things, or?
Exactly.
Okay.
We handle their contracts, we hire the interviews, the payments, everything is being handled by us. So the client should focus on only on their business and on their growth instead of going very granular with the reporting. Because I know for the HR is quite of a big process, especially when it comes to big scaling industries, such as the one
Right.
I mentioned before.
Right. And I would assume this works, if they have a big event coming up and they need a huge amount of workers immediately, let's say, right? Or in a couple of weeks' time, then this could also help for them to kind of streamline the process and be able to make sure that they got the people, right? And
Exactly.
okay,
And,
perfect.
and they don't need to like hire them for longer than that. You book these kind of people for a specific period of time, and that's it. And because I don't only want to focus on the B2B side, I think it's also helping the B2C side because it creates like more job opportunities. There's more flow, and there's quite a flexible tool for people who are looking for a job, because they can adjust their own time. They can have like
Yeah.
flexible working and more consistent pay compared to other ways. So I'm kind of hoping that we get like the win-win from both situations.
Right. And there will be variety for them too, right? Because they do different events, different companies they work with, and who knows, maybe at some point, longer term relationship can come from it. So it's a good way to kind of test, the different types of employers and lines of work in that sense. I'm curious. So I'm thinking, just off the top of my head, maybe an HR manager would be the person that actually comes and checks out Ogram, right?
Mhm.
But maybe I'm off. I don't know. Is there any kind of ICP that you're actually targeting with your platform when it comes to being able to help them?
In terms of the B2B side, you mean, or the?
Could be both. Well, obviously there are workers, right, that will come to the platform, sign up, input their
Yeah.
details. But yeah, for the businesses that actually work with you, who's actually reaching out and how would they typically find out about you?
Okay, so basically, I wanted to mention on that question that previous to my current role, I used to work for a similar company in the UK, and it was like it's interesting to see how the different markets, how the markets are like quite different to each other. So
Mm,
I had to switch completely, not completely, but I had to switch the way I was thinking and adjust to like a different market and different needs. So basically, right now, our audience finds us through like social media, Google search, job boards, also LinkedIn, because LinkedIn, both for B2B and B2C side, because the B2C side also I see that it's quite engaged with our posts, and
mhm.
that's a quite positive thing to see. um, but that's mostly around like how we try the outreach. However, in terms of acquisition channels, like the top performers are Facebook and Google Ads, to be honest, because they're driving the highest volume and the good quality of applicants. So I'm focused a lot on these two channels, depending also on the journey of the user, because you can say like, okay, Facebook is a bit
Mm.
more upper funnel activity, no? Like it's more for like maybe sometimes it's more for awareness campaigns. So it's a way of how these two channels they can collaborate with each other and starting from one and then to the other. But
Right. So it's contextual based on their journey. Obviously, you want to catch them the right time, or, wherever they are in the buying journey, let's say, you're kind of
yeah,
able to, give them the right type of content, context even. And so I'm curious because eventually they will end on your website, right?
yeah.
So in your opinion, what's the role of the website when it comes to attracting new clients, being able to get more of those
Mm.
businesses that eventually get the right people from your platform?
Yeah. So basically, for us, the website doesn't play as critical role in client acquisition because the main goal is to drive users through the conversion funnel within the app. So most of our searches also happen on mobile, and we're trying to redirect people through the app. So that's where the onboarding and everything happens. However, that said, I still think like the website holds a value, a big value there because from our side, one area where we could definitely improve from a marketing perspective is to create more targeted landing pages, specifically designed for paid traffic, for example, because right now we are not fully leveraging these opportunities and creating like this kind of landing pages can guide users a bit more effectively along the journey, and you can ensure that they're receiving the right kind of information at the stage of the funnel that they are. Um, and I think overall, like imagine we're all like bombarded with so much information around like the
Yeah.
web, so making a straightforward like process when it comes to the ads for me is super crucial. Like
Mm.
summarizing information in a smaller section to grasp the user straight away. Because we are, I can say it for me, we don't have like too much patience. No, we if we don't see what we look for, we're going to instantly bounce. So of course the app is important at the same time, like to look into like these kind of things on the website. I think it's also equally important for a well performing marketing approach.
Mm. Okay. It's an interesting insight because what you mentioned about, I don't know if you didn't say specifically attention span, but I think it has to do a lot with that, right? In a
Yeah,
sense
yeah,
that people on
yeah.
social media, you just want, I call it the Amazon Prime generation, right? It's just like next day delivery for everything, right? I want it right now. If it's not available now, I want it as soon as possible, right?
Exactly.
And I think it speaks to, well, us as a society, but really it's interesting to see how marketers need to adapt to it and make sure the copy's on point, the creative's on point, that you grab that attention and then you deliver right away. There's no time to waste,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So
Especially when it comes to like in our industry, it's a B2B industry, not B2B. I said before, we're covering both sides, but it's a lead gen uh, type of campaigns that I'm targeting here. So when it comes
yeah.
to lead generation, one person is not going to go through like details and details and leave me their personal information afterwards if I'm not going to make his life easy. If I have like 1 million of filtering questions, for example, or if I have too much text. So it's a kind of like walking in a thin line here and trying to find like the right balance in all of that. And also, I always like to think me as a first example of how I react because I'm an impatient consumer. So I
Hmm.
go with that in mind.
Okay, that's a good way to kind of, think about, would I click on this or would I actually go forward?
Mm,
Because, if you wouldn't, then what's the point, right?
wouldn't.
Exactly. Okay, interesting. So you touched on landing pages for a second. I wanna ask you, maybe you can draw from your past experience, right? for this, but is there anything that you learn about what makes a great converting website? Or maybe in this case, we can keep it in the context of landing pages. And what I'm thinking is, tools, tips, approaches that you can recommend when it comes to actually delivering that value and being able to convert on the spot, let's say.
Yeah. So for me, when it comes to creating a website that converts, of course, like the most important factors are how the information is being like showcased, if it's like clean, if it has a good structure, if all of the USPs are there. However, I think like in many cases, like product teams or whoever is responsible of building the website in every company, I think it's very important to collaborate very closely with marketing, because through marketing campaigns you can have like such valuable data that if someone can use it correctly, it can help like product brand teams to create a website that truly resonates with the audience. So, for example, like tools like SEMrush or even quite basic like Google Ads can uncover insights for your competitor strategies or what kind of keywords are being used. So by having a good bucket of list of keywords that are being used, you can use them on your website, add them on your SEO, and then the ranking is going to be better. Then the same kind of keywords can be also used in paid channels in Google Ads. And so, for example, it creates a kind of like consistency from the website to how people are searching. And also at the same time, I'm going to focus a lot on Google Ads, but Google Ads has a dynamic, the DSA is dynamic search ads and performance max campaigns. That these campaigns, the way they work is basically through crawling your website, finding the relevant keywords, and based on this, they showcasing the ad to the person who looked online. So by having like such actually keywords that people are looking for, you're going to be able, like, one, I think, can be able like to get a better reach, more accurate advertising, which comes to lowering down the spend of advertising because the CPC is going to be a bit lower. So it's kind of like a very like broad spectrum that right now people should consider, because it's not just a website that needs to look pretty or needs to have information. It's about how all of the different teams they interact with it. It has to come with an omni-channel approach when it comes to that, and not thinking just the website or, I don't know, the specific goals that, for example, one team has. It's a more unified approach for me.
Right. The website is by itself, I don't think is ever enough, right? And as you were saying, omnichannel, I was thinking, it's an holistic approach, right?
Exactly.
Thinking about it. But it sounds like you know your Google Ads, right? Are you quite passionate about it, or what is it? Is it something that,
No, basically, I started my career like folks starting up with Google Ads. So that's where like my main focus is, and I know that I'm also quite keen in like automating processes, and Google Ads has allowed me to do this like quite a few times. So I really like how the platform operates and the results that are being driven through that.
Very interesting, very interesting. So you started off with Google Ads and obviously expanded your skill set, right? Maybe this is a perfect segue for our next question. I want to just get away from websites and growth and whatever for a second and talk about you as a leader, Daniela. What's the day in the life of Daniela like? What do you do? The main tasks you do, or what keeps you excited about doing what you do? If you could share that with us.
So of course, like the day-to-day involves a lot of making sure we are hitting the targets, we are filled all of our job openings, lots of communication involved, like with different teams, and stay on top of priorities. and it's quite a dynamic role, and I kind of like jump from one channel to the other because I'm looking after, me and my team, we're looking after the broader spectrum of marketing. It's like jumping from Facebook to Google Ads to working with CRM to WhatsApp. So I wasn't very clear, but it's a bit all over the place.
Yeah,
But
well, no, I can't
it's
imagine.
interesting and it's not boring. So
Oh yeah, well, it doesn't sound boring at all. But yeah, it's interesting because obviously we speak to a lot of marketers on this show, and it is, I at the risk of repeating myself, it is about switching hats every day, right? Just
yeah,
making sure that you're wearing the right hat for the right context, and at the end of the day, you have to be multi-skilled to do this job because otherwise, you're gonna fall short, and yeah, it's not easy, right?
it's not easy, and also it's not easy because you need to always optimize the campaigns. Like maybe something is working one day and the next day is not. So you can never be like fully relaxed. You always need to be switched on and to look at your numbers, look at your data. So it's all about like optimization in lots of ways.
Yeah, to be on top of it, right?
Yeah.
Speaking of optimizing, since we're coming towards the end of the interview, we want to jump into our rapid fire question segment. So the only not so hard rule that we have here that is that we allow for short and crisp answers, and everything else is we don't need. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. What's the last book you read?
So usually, when I read, I don't like to read anything marketing or business related.
Fair
So I
enough.
just finished The Dream of a Ridiculous Man by Dostoevsky. Not
Mm.
something to cheer me up, someone would say. It's like a short story, but super interesting about existence.
Yeah, I was gonna say quite the read, right? Because nothing about marketing. It could be sci-fi, it could be novel, but Dostoevsky, it's
Yeah, I don't know. Just found it in my library. I thought, okay, now it's the time.
fair enough. Fair enough. Okay, what's one thing that your company is focused on at the moment the most?
So I think is how like we are creating funnels and how we are like creating like high converting funnels to our audience. And for me, especially, the goal is to have like uh, channels that are dedicated for awareness campaigns. And then what am I going to do to the people who are like considering applying with Ogram, and then what we're going to do with the other bucket of the people who are ready to sign up. So we are very focused in like figuring out like these buckets and to create seamless processes for every step of the way, so we can showcase relevant contexts and, as I said before, to make people's life easier. And that's from the consumer side, and also we always like focus on new client outreach and to improve our product in order to help also like our clients with the
Right.
day-to-day management of their workload.
Got it. Okay. What's one thing that you do on a daily basis, more repetitive task, that if you could automate it, you would?
Okay, so in general, I'm a big fan of automation, and if I could automate everything, I would. One thing that I would love to automate would be to for the campaign creation. I would like to automate that part. And for example, let's say that I would like to have a platform that is linked to our admin. And let's say that every time we have a new entry on our website, something that we need to have a campaign for, to create a process that automatically the system is going to grab the new entry from our admin and then create a campaign that is being launched into different channels without too much human interaction, in a way that it can be like more scalable. We can avoid human errors, and we can make sure that we have a healthy account.
Okay, that will definitely help speed things up, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Campaign creation, right? Yeah, that would be a good one. Okay, Daniela, want to thank you for being on the show with us today, and I also want to give you the last word as we wrap this up. So, if someone forgets everything about the interview today, what is the one thing that they should remember about your company and the work you're doing?
I think would be to focus a lot on the product, and how we are trying to focus a lot on help businesses to hire like on staff demand, and basically how we support the gig economy, and that is like rapidly growing, and that we are there to support from both B2B and B2C side.
Perfect. And if anyone wants to check you out, where should they go?
LinkedIn, I would say.
All right, so just search for Ogram on LinkedIn or connect with you, Daniela, and yeah, they'll
Connect
be able
with
to
me,
find out.
or if they look for Ogram, I'm hoping that they're going to be able to see my ads across the board. So
All right, perfect.
thank
Cool.
you.
Well, Daniela, thanks again. And we hope to see you again on the show. And I wish you a beautiful day.
You too. Thanks a lot for having me.
Of course. Bye, everyone.
Bye.